by the systems we create right here. So I'm going to start with a little bit of a story for you all to give you a little picture of what I see every single day. The day remains etched in my memory as if it happened yesterday. It was close to 5 years ago when I was handed a plain manila folder, a case that would profoundly alter the course of my life. At the time, I had recently taken on the role of a court-appointed special advocate in Cobb County. My journey leading up to this moment was far from ordinary. I was a missionary kid, raised in the former Soviet Republic of Belarus, spending much of my time working alongside my parents in orphanages and assisting with humanitarian aid efforts. Life eventually brought me back to Georgia, where my husband is now a physician, and I am a mom to 4 incredible children, an adoptive parent, a parent of an adult child with a disability, and a mom to a daughter who's now a junior at UGA. Just had to say that. Go Dogs. I have devoted my entire life as a professional volunteer to serving children, youth, and families who are grappling with poverty and other hardships and who are impacted by government systems. Currently, I'm the executive director of Together with Families, a newly established nonprofit, and in the past 5 years have worked closely with over 200 families who were impacted by the child welfare system, either through investigations or foster care itself. And then there was that manila folder. Inside it held the tragic story of a family separated, 4 young boys who had been torn apart and scattered across 3 different foster homes, enduring over a year of separation from their mother. And the state was teetering on edge of filing to terminate their mother's rights. I'd become a CASA after seeing the youth who aged out of foster care system. I worked with them in Atlanta. Often, they were faced with homelessness and more trauma on the unforgiving streets of Atlanta. I wanted to ensure that every child found the love and permanency of a forever family. As I sat in my car, eagerly flipping through the manila folder's contents, I was confronted with a disturbing reality. Page after page revealed a family torn apart by an unforgiving system. I began to highlight the document, adding question marks to the margins. Why had we separated this family? Where was the evidence of the kind of abuse or neglect that justified such a drastic measure? I struggled to make sense of it all. I couldn't accept that we had taken these children from their loving mother simply because they lacked adequate housing and resources, a problem that could be solved with the right supports. But it was the oldest child who I was most worried about. He was close to his 12th birthday and had moved 5 times. Walking into his foster home, I was nervous but determined. The foster caregiver, a struggling single parent who had spent years fostering children, spoke about this young man with callousness that gave me chills. Her words oozed disdain, devoid of love or care, and her description of his family bore the same harsh tone. Fostering, I understood, was a calling for some, driven by love and compassion. I've learned for others, there are other various motives, some dark, sometimes families struggling themselves, financial gain or need becoming the driving force. I walked towards the 11-year-old boy, feeling the weight of my responsibility as I took a seat beside him on the couch. He smiled, and I returned the gesture. Then I gently spoke to him. Hey, I'm your court-appointed special advocate. I'm here to help you. If you could have anything in the world, what would it be? His response struck me like a gut punch. I want to go home. I miss my mom. I worry about my brothers. I want to see them. Can you help me? Then I asked him to tell me about his family. I heard in his story a family bound by love, but navigating the complexities of living in poverty. On Sundays, they would come together, listening to gospel music as they cleaned the house. When they couldn't afford electricity, they would huddle together under a blanket, all together on one mattress, and use the neighbor's fridge upstairs to keep food cold. I returned to my car overwhelmed with emotions and started to sob. Couldn't comprehend how such a heart-wrenching separation could occur in America. This is not the Soviet Union. At least that's what I thought. How could we meet this family that was experiencing hardship with more hardship instead of the help they needed? My next call was to his mother. My first conversation we had, I think she cussed me out. She said, "You people stole my children. You kidnapped them. I told them, I'm not the Division of Family and Children's Services. I'm a volunteer. I'm a mom. I told her that I'm here to help your children. And if it was in her children's best interest to be with their mother, then that meant I needed to help her too. So I started helping the family reunite. As I delved deeper into the case file, I couldn't ignore the troubling inaccuracies that marred its pages. It was a stark reminder that the truth gets obscured in the labyrinth bureaucracy of the child welfare system. Fast forward to today, and all 4 boys are no longer separated from their family in foster care, but the trauma of family separation lingers. They still fear the knocks on the doors and social workers. They have learned to isolate and not to seek help because help doesn't always help. And when Dr. DeGarmer said 3 generations of foster care, that's how you produce 3 generations of foster care. You teach people that when you help, it's not really going to help you. Don't reach out. Keep your business to yourself. Almost 5 years ago, before I opened that first manila folder, I took an oath. I was sworn in as a CASA, court-appointed special advocate. I embarked on a journey that would forever change the way I saw foster care. I have witnessed loving families, the working poor in Georgia, custodians, employees at Kroger, Walmart, FedEx, living in the grip of a poverty crisis, doing the best to navigate their world where they often can't afford safe housing, reliable transportation, access to medical care, dental care, and education, facing CPS investigations in their lowest moments when there's no maltreatment and they needed resources and community support. Families facing the fear, and it's fear, deep-rooted fear of being torn apart unnecessarily. Here's the painful irony. We are spending over $32,000 a year of tax dollars for a child to keep children separated from their families. This is for a child with no special needs or serious medical or behavioral issues. It can be upward of $100,000 a year or more for some children in government care. A staggering cost, not just in dollars, but in human suffering. In the past 5 years, I've had the privilege of serving over 200 families involved with the child welfare system, preventing family separation for 98% of them. Family separation isn't an inevitable fate. It's usually a preventable trauma. By providing transportation, childcare, housing assistance, navigation of resources, beds, food, and financial assistance to parents at risk of family separation, and engaging relative caregivers and kin when parents can't ensure their children's safety, we can avoid the trauma of separation. Our families face challenges that might resonate with many here. They have children with special needs and acute and complex health and behavioral needs. They deal with illness and sometimes receive the devastating diagnosis of cancer. They experience trauma and may grapple with domestic violence and confront untreated mental health conditions like PTSD, depression, anxiety, and can resort to substances as substance use as a desperate coping mechanism. These struggles aren't unique for families living in poverty. I know, we're living in an upper middle class neighborhood. There are challenges that can affect any of us. However, we typically have the resources and the support to address them without the fear of family separation looming over us. It's essential to recognize that 80% of families involved with the child welfare system live 200% below the poverty line, and 70% of children in Georgia's foster care system eventually return to a parent or a relative after the trauma of prolonged family separation. I implore you to consider a truth hidden in plain sight. It's not only more humane, but also more fiscally responsible to prevent foster care than to continue to pay for it. In Georgia, we allocate less than 20% of Title IV, around 20% of Title IV funding towards prevention, while the majority of the resources are funneled into the foster care and adoption industry. And let me tell you, it's an industry. Consider the numbers. Staggering $32,000 per year to keep one child separated from their family in foster care, compared to what it has cost us, a mere $500 to $1,500 per child in assistance and resources and together with families to prevent foster care and help families improve their own lives. But this isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about the immense human cost. Children in foster care, we've heard it today. But you didn't hear, they face 40% higher mortality rates, worse mental health outcomes than children in the general population. We know the government is not good at raising children. Imagine if we redirected the resources from a failing foster care system into preventing it in the first place, and ensured that families in Georgia, when they're experiencing hardships and poverty, and when they're at their lowest moments, we meet them with concrete supports and the help that they need instead of family separation. Imagine if families had the opportunities and resources they needed to care for their own children. This is a bipartisan issue that transcends politics. It's a human issue. It's about compassion and creating a brighter future for Georgia's children and families. Prevention is not just the right thing to do, it's the cost-effective thing to do. And here we can show other states what is possible when we work together to keep families together.